Well, how long has it been since the last time we talked about Rooster Teeth? I think it's been at least a year or so, right? Because I think the last time we really narrowed down a topic and ranted about the state of things at the company was when we kind of briefly talked about Joel being let go following all the fallout over their racism issues discussed by current employees, and of course the sort of downward trajectory of RT as a company and the essay concerning the aforementioned decline in their quality. Obviously, we discussed the Ryan Haywood stuff a few times, actually, and a couple times afterwards, since he tried to come back to Twitch and tried to foster some new goodwill from the community, only to be lambasted and bitch slapped back to nowhere like he very rightly deserved. Duh, we talked about Adam making a bit of a comeback. He's kind of seeming to get his shit in order, and he's promoting the new content he's been working on with some partners. Hopefully that continues to go somewhere positive, because it seems like Adam seems to be kind of the only one determined to make more of a difference after all the controversy with his fallout. Time will tell. We'll see what happens with Adam. So why are we back here talking about Rooster Teeth once again? If you haven't seen, they're trending on Twitter for a reason. Are we just a glutton for punishment? We like seeing more and more of the dirtier side of our childhood operations being trampled under the steel-toed boot of corporate management and artistic seppuku? Maybe. But there has also been a fresh new controversy, as I mentioned, and potential sign of things to come for Rooster Teeth in the near future. So first off, let's talk about Kaden. For those of you unfamiliar with Kdin, she's been responsible for a lot of content creation, and honestly, it would take a while to name all the stuff that she helped create, and the content that you most likely enjoyed watching had you been a part of Rooster Teeth since 2013. Now, when Kdin was originally hired as a contractor, and by the way, I'll be putting up kind of these images in the background of her twit longer. I'm not going to mention too much of it verbatim, because that's kind of what I did with the last videos, and it ended up being very long and very rambly, so just kind of bear with me and use these more as a focal point and as a footnote than anything else. So, following her permanent status as a full-time employee, she was given a rather affectionate nickname. I can't actually say the nickname, because if I do, I will probably get a fairly sternly worded email from YouTube about using said word, but you can fill in the blanks here or look at the image on screen and see for yourself what that nickname was. So, using a slur in a public work environment, much less as a daily usage as a nickname, is already pretty bad. It gets even worse when Kaden mentions the name that you saw get used in content, Fugs, F-U-G-Z, which I actually do recall seeing, albeit infrequently just due to the RT content that I consumed was dominantly Achievement Hunter at the time, but I digress. So Fugs was the censorship-friendly way of referring to Kaden's demeaning and derogatory nickname in public content and getting away with it, which really paints a dark picture when you consider a lot of the editors at that time were also the core personalities at Rooster Teeth, like Gavin, Jack, Chris, Matt, etc., etc. But back to Kaden. When fun was made at the expense of employees like Kaden, aka not the main personalities that people loved, so, when people are making derogatory and blatantly offensive comments towards people like Micah, for those of you that don't remember that controversy, the higher-ups and senior members would just sort of respond with, oh, it's a joke, when the fun being made came from them. And when the fun being made came from the comments and the community, the seniors and the personalities would just kind of say, ignore the comments, which, they wouldn't do anything to fix it, nor would they do anything to try and curb the community's toxicity until it would reach a boiling point, much as we saw happen last year and in 2020. Now, all of this was occurring just within the few couple years of Kaden's employment, only serving to get worse when she went from crunching a 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. schedule full-time, only to swap departments due to mental health fatigue and being treated to a new schedule that had her crunching 2 hours later and being off at 11 p.m., which only led to further inflammatory statements from the new department when Kaden came out as trans, which of course led to a bevy of public support on social media from those within the company because, of course, RT has to uphold their image. However, this seemed to have led to an even worse treatment behind the scenes, with Kaden saying that it was akin to being just trotted out to show that Rooster Teeth hired LGBT members in the pros of wanting to appear inclusive, all while doing seemingly everything behind the scenes to make it seem like Kaden was nearly non-existent, even going so far as to mention in video content where Kaden was set to appear that, oh, Kaden went home already, when in reality she was mere feet away in a different room crunching her ass off to finish a video that was already massively behind due to complaints from her manager. This manager would then go on to contribute to such a downward spiral in Kaden's mental health that it had to be taken up to a branching manager to have a 2-on-1 conversation about the abuse and the hours, to which Kaden was given a half-assed "I'm sorry" and sent on their merry way to return to the abusive grind. Kaden then took that opportunity to go talk to a senior founding member of Rooster Teeth, and keep that one in mind, guys, a senior founding member of Rooster Teeth. there's not many of those left, and especially at that time, there was already a limited amount of them. And the response given from this senior founding member was, quote, "You're too nice for Rooster Teeth, you should just quit." Fucking phenomenal job, guys. Just, can we get a round of applause for these jackasses? Oh, and during the majority of this, Kaden was being paid almost $30K below the average income of a producer of content for Austin, Texas, and almost $40K less than her co-workers. Wonderful stuff here. Only positive vibes from the management at Rooster Teeth. Now, following Rooster Teeth's move to remote work and the height of COVID-19, Kaden had actually been transitioned to LA following the Rooster Teeth layoffs in 2019, which we've covered before in our Death of Our Teeth video, so go check that one out if you haven't. But this also led to her being given another pay cut despite the insistences and issues of her pay prior to said issues. Now, after this transition back to LA, Kaden had to undergo life-saving surgery following an undisclosed emergency, and during that time had to take a mandated 2-week leave from the company and from her responsibilities. But she already had a bunch of stuff already done, and during that 2 weeks, content that Kaden had already created and edited was handed off to another person, who then went on to take credit for the work done and never acknowledged the work put in by Kaden prior to the handoff, which is something that I am far too intimately familiar with. Kaden then talks about how VO work was never paid at industry levels, despite others being paid at industry standards who also did VO work for the company. And how there's still kind of more to talk about, but that it's kind of being left alone for now because her mental health is just at an all-time low. I'll leave this summary of events that Kaden typed on screen for a few minutes while I wrap up this section of the video so that you can kind of read it while I talk, or you can just pause the video here and get an idea of where everything ended up if you were finding it difficult to follow. So Kaden's ordeal at Rooster Teeth is sadly something that seems to be coming more and more to light with Rooster Teeth with each passing year. They've modeled themselves as this incredibly inclusive, progressive, and forward-thinking company that prides itself on a sense of fun, lightheartedness, and jocularity that would make most anyone in the content creation world seethe with envy at seeing. But the darkness underneath the shroud of familiarity that Rooster Teeth hides has been slowly peeled away by the people that work for them in non-founder capacities. And the ensuing silence and lack of support and cooperation by Rooster Teeth's PR department and its founders is nothing short of shocking. I know many people love to point out, including ourselves, funnily enough, that Rooster Teeth kind of died back when they first accepted a buyout from a major corporation. And I wouldn't really disagree with that statement as an umbrella statement, but that is absolutely no excuse for the abhorrent treatment that Kaden suffered at while under their umbrella or otherwise. And bear in mind, Kaden is just one of most likely several people that feel too influenced or gaslit by a toxic community of founders and seniors who don't care for their employees to say anything about their own conditions of work. But, good God, we're not even done yet. In a suspiciously timed decision considering Kaden's closeness and department oversight and content creation with Jeremy and Matt Bragg has officially announced that he is parting ways with Achievement Hunter due to a company decision to dissolve his position. Now, at the time of writing, Matt has yet to really speak out about this decision, and if there appears to be an underlying motivation for this decision, but it speaks a lot of Kaden's mentions that the founders seem to enjoy an aura of scrutiny that is casually swept aside in favor of enjoying the personalities at the expense of the mental health and professionalism of their subordinates. Matt Bragg was pretty commonly seen in a lot of Achievement Hunter content, especially following Ryan's firing, Ray's departure, and Jeff's more common absence from the channel's content following his kind of desire to be more family-oriented. I mean, Matt was never really a top leader of the community's favorites. I wouldn't say he was ever very high on their scoreboard, but what I have to believe is part and parcel of why he's being dissolved at the company following Kaden's repeated attempts to have done something about the way they're all being treated by higher-ups. And if you're wondering why Jeremy isn't included in the crossfire, bear in mind that Jeremy has taken quite a few leave of absences lately to focus on his family and mental health and the things he's working on the side outside of Rooster Teeth, and that the year isn't over yet. And frankly, Jeremy is a much more popular pillar of Achievement Hunter at this point in time and is most likely behind that sort of invulnerable shield I mentioned before. I accuse him of nothing because I do believe that Jeremy is most likely one of the few good apples in a sea of continuously just discovered rotting compatriots, but I really hope that isn't the case. So, here we are. I have no idea how many minutes later because after editing, I'm sure it's going to be a long one. Even just looking off to my left at my other screen, seeing this video is already over 13 minutes when it comes to just talking about it, which is wonderful. RT continues to have its facade ripped aside. I feel more and more disheartened that with each year that passes, fresh new controversies arise from the bowels that is Austin, Texas. I still want to believe in the company even if I've written off pretty much all the content that they've been making lately. Like, there's just nothing compelling about what they do anymore in my opinion. But I don't want my childhood memories and formative personalities of people like Bernie, Bruce, and Jeff that they really had on me to start to dwindle away to something I have to like section off from myself because I don't want to be known that, oh, these are the people that I modeled after, you know, when I was growing up. My sense of humor is from these people. I mean, I hate that I feel like videos like these that I'm recording and editing right now are beginning to feel more like a bitter spat rather than a professional necessity. I hate that Rooster Teeth has gone from this beloved icon that paved the way for high-level content creation to come from the very love of the community that it feels like they now spit on. I hate that the founding members seem to be almost willfully ignorant of the hell they've been putting people through, all while at the expense of furthering their own prospective celebrity statuses. I hate the oppressive silence that fills the void between controversies, as though RT themselves are just awkwardly sitting at their desks ignoring the comments and hoping that the issues just go quietly away. I said it back when Adam sort of made his comeback, there is still hope for this company to reignite the spark, but it requires 3 core things that I didn't really talk about in that video. Number 1, dissolve Rooster Teeth as a corporate entity and sell off their assets to WB, but take their original IPs back to the fundamentals of their own discretion. Take Red vs. Blue and Ruby back to what made them special. Second, publicly oust the members that have participated in this abhorrent and disgusting behavior and give them a chance to voice the defense and see how the community reacts. Ridding a tree of a dead apple doesn't have to result in cutting the trunk at the base. Sometimes you just need to prune a few branches. Thirdly, stop taking your community for granted. I guarantee you that the more stuff like this comes out, the more that Warner Brothers will look to dissolve you on their terms, and the closer that reality gets, the lower the view counts of your already pitiful numbers on Let's Play and Achievement Hunter, the more that people don't care to watch 19 different podcasts just to see a personality they enjoy, the more that your community will turn on you. It's just a matter of time. I firmly believe that after the layoffs, Ryan's controversy was really just the community pulling out a watch that was counting down to RT's demise. And now I feel as though the timer has been started. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what happens, but I really hope that RT can turn things around and fix this. If not, it was a good ride. I jumped off this train a couple years ago, but I think more people are about to join me.